Welcome back to Oneness. Today is day 4 and we will be looking at verse 4 from Tao Te Ching. So before we dive in, as usual, let's observe a few seconds of silence. Thank you. So now let's look at verse 4 from Tao Te Ching. The Tao is an empty vessel. It is used but never filled. Oh, unfathomable source of 10,000 things. Blend the sharpness, untangle the knot, soften the glare, merge with dust. Oh, hidden deep but ever present. I do not know from whence it comes. It is the forefather of the ancestors. Let's sink in with this thought for a moment. So, in this verse, Lao Tzu returned to his mysterious way of explaining about Tao, the way, and how the universe, it works in an unimaginable, magical way with everything. That's why it is little difficult to comprehend. However, let's do our best to understand what Lao Tzu would have meant in these verses. And by the way, for this verse, today I'm going to take a help from science. For all you know, the science and spirituality are not two different things. It is, in a way, the same thing. A science is an exploration which is outwards, and spirituality is an exploration inwards. In Buddha's teaching, Buddha says, don't accept anything. Ask questions, and if you find the answer convincing to you, accept it. If not, look for the other answers. Likewise, in science, first they come up with hypothesis. Then they prepare a test case. Then they do an experiment. They go through the results from the experiment and then they conclude whether the hypothesis is true or not. So, in a way, both are same. And since the Lao Tzu's words are talking about an eternal Tao, so I am going to take in resources from science, be it be a Big Bang, cosmos, stars, and etc. So here we go. The Tao is an empty vessel. It is used but never filled. What does it mean? So if we compare this Tao with the universe, let's talk about, say, Big Bang. So we know that the Big Bang was a result of high energy getting concentrated at one minute single dot. And then the expansion started happening. That's what we call it as Big Bang. And it happened around 13.8 billion years ago. However, the science still concludes that the universe is expanding in a drastic rate. And the question remains mystery is, where is it expanding into? If there is no space, the universe is a space and the cosmos is expanding, where is it expanding to? No one knows. So that is what it is. So it all came from one single point and it is ever expanding. And all the billions and billions of stars and galaxies that we see around, it is just a minute fraction of a thing for the cosmos. And it is ever expanding and creating forever. So with that thought, let's move on to the next line. Oh, unfathomable source of 10,000 things. And what Lao Tzu calls here is, that is a source for 10,000 things. Of course it is. From the moment the Big Bang happened, what happened next? The first is, within few seconds or a minute, the first is the quarks and proton were created. And then there comes the electron and neutron. So over next, once the Big Bang and the whole universe started cooling down, it over the next 380,000 years later is when the electron started rotating around the nucleus. They form a single atom. And all we know, every single creation in this universe is from an atom, right? So these words are completely true. From the time of a Big Bang, everything that is created around us is made from atoms, and we are all made up of atoms. Every single thing in observable universe. Then it goes like this. Blend the sharpness, untangle the knot, soften the glare, merge with dust. So these 4 lines talks about the very reality of how the universe works. So I'll take this example of soften the glare. In other translation, dims the light. So what does it mean? I am relating this with the birth and death of stars itself. So we know that the birth of star happens from nebula. From nebula, it gets condensed because of the gravity. It forms as a moving object, which we call it as a star. And every star got its own lifetime. So it lives for billions of years. Then it becomes a red giant. And some of the stars which turn into nebula again, like our sun. In the other side, it also some of the stars which are 10 times higher the mass of our sun, which becomes a supernova and finally becomes a black hole. So that is the life cycle of a star. So with the universe in place, when the nature happens, even the brightest star has to die one day and have a rebirth as either a nebula or it goes to a black hole. So it depends. So for the universe, time doesn't matter. So over the time, it can soften the sharpness, untangle the knot, and merge with the dust. Every single thing returns to dust. Even this earth. What do you think that will happen after 7.5 billion years later? We will merge into the sun as a dust. So everything becomes to dust. That's what these wise words are said. Ho, hidden deep but ever present. I do not know from whence it comes. It is the forefather of the ancestors. What does it mean? Oh, hidden deep but ever present. So here again, I'll take a help of science. The science says the visible universe that what we see right now, it is just 4%. And the rest 24%, it is made up of something called dark matter, which doesn't produce light or electromagnetic waves. It is very hard to detect, but only with the gravity we are able to detect the dark matter. And science says the 70% of the universe is made up of something called dark energy, which is mystical even for science to understand what it is. And that is what I see relevant in this word. So whatever it is, the mystical force that works within us and around us in the whole of cosmos, it is mystic. And that is what gives a birth to everything that exists in this world. In these verses, we are talking about unfathomable source or abundance of everything. Because we are one with the cosmos, which is it's everywhere in every single thing. So now when we're talking about an abundance, the first thing that comes to our mind is a materialistic aspect of abundance. Because most of us, we live in a materialistic world and we will say that, oh, I want an abundance of money or abundance of happiness. And how we'll get the happiness? Maybe buying something and etc. But rather, I wanted to get back and talk about abundance of some of the things that we already have. Every single one of us have. And those are, in my thought, it's love. Is it a limited love that exists in this world? Of course not. It is unlimited. To get love, give love. To get happiness, make someone happy. That is a basic rule, right? So when you want, you can always give love unconditionally to anyone and everyone and every single thing in this universe without limitation. How much ever we will never be able to run out of love. Kindness. We can show kindness no matter what the situation is, what is the thing is, or who it is, what situation it is, what thing it is. We can always show kindness to every single being in this whole universe. And that can be abundance within us. All we have to do is just give. And there comes forgiveness. Most of us, at some point in time, we stuck. We're not able to forgive some person or some situation or our own self. But within us, we have an energy or we have a resource to forgive self and everyone or every single situation unconditionally. We can just literally, we can forgive people. And finally, the time that we can give it to people. Yes, I know that it is a little contrary because most people say that time is a limited resource. No amount of money can buy time. No amount of the wealth that you create can buy time. Nothing can buy time. I agree to that. But then the other side or way of looking at it is the time is a very relative thing. Sometimes the time flies in a second. Sometimes it feels like it is the few seconds looks like forever. Right? I'm sure you must have had some moments like that. So for an example, when you watch TV or some shows, the time flies. Few hours is nothing. It just flies. But at the same time, if I ask you to stand in front of people, say thousands and thousands of people and talk, that point in time, maybe a 1 minute time will look like an eternal. Or the first kiss. The moment that you shared with your loved one, maybe a few seconds. But then it looks like an eternal time that you lived in that moment. So the time is very relative. It depends on how you spend it. And all I can say is, when you share your time with someone, all it means is you're sharing your life with them. And that means lots and lots. And by that, what I'm saying is, take your time and spend your time with your loved ones and doing the thing that you love the most. It can be anything, it can be anyone. Just spend it with those moments. Instead of getting hooked on to TV and phone and social media, if you take time off and do the thing that you love the most or spend the time with one who you love, then it becomes a relative thing which exists far beyond the eternal time. So with that, let's come to the conclusion of this verse. So the one actionable thought for today is, as the day goes by, allow yourself to observe what are the unlimited resources that you have within. It can be love, it can be kindness, it can be time, it can be forgiveness, it can be encouragement, carrying, etc. and etc. Think of all those things that you have unlimited within you. And think on the way that how you can share and give it to people and show it to people, the one who you love and the other beings in this world unconditionally to everyone. That way, I'm sure that is going to multiply in multiple folds. And that said, there is a saying, a bowl which is already filled cannot be filled again. Likewise, every single day before you go to bed, just give out as much as you can, right? Give as much love that you can, as much kindness you can, as much like compassion and encouragement, forgiveness and time to everyone and every being that you are in love with. And that way, you go to bed empty. So the next day morning, again, you be filled with everything in this life. Be it love and everything comes in abundance to you so that you can share more and more and more of all these things. So when you share more love, you get more love. When you share more happiness, you get more happy. So with that, I'll conclude for today. And I want to conclude this session with a quote by Nisargadatta Maharaj. And this is in the book, Change Your Thought, Change Your Life. And I'll read it for you. Wisdom is knowing I am nothing. Love is knowing I am everything. And between the two, my life moves. I'll repeat this again. The wisdom is knowing I am nothing. The love is knowing I am everything. Between these two, my life moves. Think about it. With that, thank you.